Okay, I think we're ready to roll. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm joining you from Bangkok, Thailand. My name's Avril Murr, and I'm presenting the webinar today. So it's the beauty of Comra, skin health and vitality. And we are recording this. It's going to be recording the presentation and myself as well. So the beauty of Comra, we're talking about skin health and vitality. So it's definitely beauty in that regard. And then also it has a double meaning for me because the beauty of Comra is that it has so many uses, so much potential. So today is just another opportunity to look at another potential of what Comra can do and what it can be used for. So we're going to look at some treatments for some common skin concerns. So you'll know how to use Comra and what for. We'll also look at what's happening with the treatments and the supportive treatments, because there's supportive treatments as well with the body, and what is complementary with Comra. So we'll talk a little bit about skincare and some like overall body things to help. And just to say with the skin, for some people, different skin issues, diseases, this just happens to be where disease shows up for them. Other people have diseases in other parts of the body. I just like to share that with people. It was something I found myself sharing when I was working with clients and the public in the past, talking to them about their skin issues. So, and then we're going to do questions at the end. So at the end, when I'm done with the webinar, we'll put the chat up, or you can also, if you have your video on, you can put your hand up, or you can also just unmute yourself and ask a question. But we'll do that at the end, and those are going to be questions focused on this topic today on skin health and vitality. I'm just going to stop sharing for a second, or not for a second, for a little bit here. So I just want to share about myself a little bit more and why I'm offering this webinar today. So for myself, my skin became a priority for me when I was a teenager and started getting breakouts on my skin. So I was wanting to figure out what was wrong or try to find something that could fix that. I wasn't enjoying it. Of course, I was really concerned about my looks and wanted clear skin, and that's how I was supposed to look. So yeah, so I started trying all this different skincare because I thought, okay, well, this stuff says it's supposed to help, and I'm supposed to wash my face, and we didn't have the like Dr. Google back then, so I just had to kind of figure things out on my own and just tried different things. But I wasn't getting any changes, that's for sure. So I was just something I just kept dealing with ongoing in my life. I was interested in it overall as well. It wasn't just because of the breakouts and the acne. I found myself being interested in the products and interested just overall in what was happening and like just trying different things. So I enjoyed it. And back then I was using more low quality products, lots of chemicals in them, not very good. It wasn't helping my skin at all, and it was making it worse actually. So it was all a significant part of what led me to where I am today. Not only working with Comra therapy, but also just it led me forward in my life. I became an esthetician in my 20s, and I worked as an esthetician for about 8 years, I think it was. So that was just another part of being interested in the whole beauty industry and beauty overall and skin overall. So I started working with more professional products then, lots of different treatments. And of course, there was lots of focus on acne and all kinds of other things. So I got to try all kinds of things then. And, there was definitely more active things going on with those treatments, with everything I was trying. But then I still wasn't getting any healing going on. I'd have breakouts and then they kind of heal, but not fully heal. So I had lots of discoloration all the time. And then closer to the end of being in like the end of my career as an esthetician, I had been with Garrett for a little while already, and our lives were taking a different direction together. And we were looking at different ways of eating and the food industry overall, and learning about chemicals and toxins in the food and the environment and household products and everything. And watching lots of documentaries. So we were making different changes in our life and becoming more interested in holistic health. And I was learning about more natural skincare and started trying that. And then eventually I left aesthetics, and then, but my focus was still on holistic health. And then after a few years of just living and not necessarily working in that field, then we learned about Comer therapy. I took a natural nutrition course as well, so I was continuing in that, in that way forward. And yeah, Comer therapy came along. And then when I finally got my Comra, this is what I wanted to treat, was my skin. So I was using natural skincare. It was better for me. I wasn't putting chemicals on my face, but still was getting lots of breakouts, not any long-term results or anything, no repair. So my Comer journey started with my skin, and I was using the aesthetic terminal. And then I also learned that I can use the medical terminal and do some support treatments. So I started treating my blood as well. And I had fantastic results. Like, I actually had those areas that had been discolored for so long, the healing and everything, it actually happened. My skin was actually repaired, and all that discoloration went away. And I kept working with it over time, and we were still eating differently, doing nutritional things and looking after my body overall. So then through all that, my skin cleared up to, like, completely, actually. And most of the time now I go with very clear skin. Every once in a while I'll still get a breakout, but then I'll just, investigate and see what's going on, and do some treatments and see what I need to do to change and help that heal up, even if it's just a couple breakouts. But so I'm going to go back to sharing the presentation here. So with this quote here and this picture, your health is what you make of it. Everything you do and think either adds to the vitality, energy, and spirit you possess, or takes away from it. So with this, I just wanted to point to something deeper than the surface. So with the skin, it can be very easy to focus only on the surface and not consider or acknowledge any connection for the body and the individual overall in their life. The surface is largely influenced by physical, mental, emotional things going on for us. So they're not separate issues. But this also doesn't mean that we're meant to have perfect skin or have unwrinkled skin as we get older. But also, in that case, wrinkled skin can look radiant and healthy. It doesn't necessarily have to look bad, but I just want to say that as a note. When something shows up on the skin, it's a result or an effect versus the cause. So of course, there's things that directly impact the skin from the outside. This is the role of the skin. It's a barrier, it's a protection as part of its role. It's got many roles. It's our largest organ. So it's going to take a beating at times. There's lots of pollution, environmental things going on, chemicals, toxins that we're being bombarded with on a daily basis. And then we can also put supportive healing things directly on our skin that are, applied to the surface, but they're still being absorbed in, but it's directly impacting from the outside. But the broader picture, going deeper into the body, is not to be forgotten. So just like any disease, your skin can require like a very full health investigation depending on what's going on. So just to go over a few things of what we can use it for, we have a beauty and wellness user guide, and we also have the Comra user guide, the original Comra user guide. Those are both on our website, comertherapy.com, so you can get those there. But you can work with getting an overall fresh, vital appearance, softening the appearance of lines and wrinkles, so anti-aging, a more even skin tone, discoloration scarring, which is what I was talking about for myself, where it's just redness there, acne, breakouts, and infection. And I have infection there with the acne and breakouts because those are infections. But then also, if there's any type of other infection going on that's not acne, but any of it can be treated. Rosacea, It can complement or replace superficial and invasive peels or resurfacing like deep peels. You can do it like it'll complement. You can do it post any type of skin treatment, cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery. It'll help with psoriasis, eczema, general inflammation. There's cellulite support, hives, other allergic reactions, or what they call dermatitis when they don't necessarily know what's going on, but it's some irritation on the skin. And then also bites and stings. So just when we talk about vitality, why is there so little vitality? Why is the skin not healing? So there's some inefficiency going on, a sluggishness and an inactivity. So there's not enough energy to support the innate healing action of the body. And this is caused by an almost immeasurable amount of things and circumstances. So the innate intelligence of the body is always in action. It's always seeking balance. And we're going to be working with it or against it, depending on what's going on. And I mean, simply living, going through daily life, even with giving the best support, there's still a lot we're faced with. So it's not easy to stay on top of it either. Like keeping that energy, actually keeping the energy up and high enough to be so things aren't sluggish. So we only have so much energy to keep it in balance, keep in check, and deal with everything. So that could, on the skin, that could look dull looking skin, sallow skin, blotchy, dark around the eyes, dryness, or any kind of disease that can happen on the skin, any other concern. So the body, what will do what is most needed first. So the skin doesn't end up being a priority. If it needs some quick repair, the body will go in and repair it quickly, but then it's going to go to do other things as a priority. So they're just the immeasurable amount of things that I'm talking about is just the bombardment of toxins from the environment, chemicals and skin products, food, household, products with chemicals that we're using all the time, prolonged stress, lack of rest, and just our overall state of being as well. How are we feeling? How are we doing mentally and emotionally? What's going on in our lives? So all of that's coming at us all the time. So as far as achieving more vitality, vitality is achieved through action and through movement, and the more efficient, the better. It needs to be efficient. So we need efficient and coherent healing with the skin and body. And this is what the Comra technology does and supports. So it's helping shedding off of the old faster and more efficiently. And the efficient part is really important. And plus healing on a deeper level. So when you think of vitality, you can see this waterfall here. This is in La Fortuna in Costa Rica. Myself and Garrett and Elizabeth were there this past summer. So it's a very magical place, very powerful, actually. When you're there, there's just green everywhere around. This is just one little small snapshot of this waterfall, just to show the vitality right in that small area, just the power of the water and the power of it hitting the water below. And people are coming here from all over the world to see Costa Rica, of course, but this is definitely one of the big attractions. People want to look at it. They want to be close to it. They want to get in the water and swim as close as they can to it. So it has this, it gives everybody a feeling of vigor, of restoration, of youth even. So people just want to feel this and be by it. There's so much energy there. So inefficient movement on the skin, the old cells don't slough off efficiently. They can build up and weigh down on things, and then things won't heal. Something like acne wouldn't heal, lines and wrinkles are going to look more pronounced. So this is when that inefficiency is there and we don't have the vitality. And with the skin treatments, you're not necessarily going to get rid of what's there. In some cases, yes, depending on what it is, things are going to heal on the skin and you won't continue to have the issue, like I experienced myself with using Comra. With something like anti-aging, with lines and wrinkles and overall vitality, you're not going to get rid of what's there, but you can definitely improve the look of everything there. You want what's there to look and be healthy, and also slow down the breaking down process going on deeper in the skin. So you can work on that. And just to say, like when it comes to vitality, doesn't necessarily have anything to do with age, because young people can also look like they won't have any wrinkles, but they can still look very unhealthy and devitalized. Whereas you can have someone with some lines and wrinkles, but they're looking radiant and healthy. So it doesn't have anything to do with age. So now we're looking at why, what, how to get things moving, because you want to get things moving. We need that vitality. So I'm going to be talking about exfoliation here, something called exfoliation. And this is something that's done in the skincare, like with skincare on a regular basis. People do this at home, but it's also done in the industry and spas and clinics and everything. So there's superficial exfoliation, and I'll tell you about what it is and go into it more and get into it with COMRA and everything. I'm just going to share the points here first. So superficial, you can have manual superficial scrubs and clays that you're putting on your skin and you're actually rubbing it around. There's also mild chemical or enzymatic peels, like alpha hydroxy acids, beta hydroxy acids, retinoids. So those go on the skin, and mostly they're washed off. Sometimes you can leave a really low grade 1 on that's just in your skin products at home, but otherwise you're putting it on and then rinsing it off. And this is good if there's an active infection on the skin. If there's a lot of pustules or something with acne, you don't want to start rubbing that and scrubbing it. So you just want to put something on to help break things up. And then there's also microdermabrasion, which is a machine that goes across the skin. And this is done in a clinic or in a spa. And then there's also deep peels, and these are done more with a medical esthetician or a dermatologist. And these are quite aggressive peels, resurfacing. They go deep into the surface of the skin, causing a lot of redness, sometimes even oozing, because they're going so deep in. So exfoliation is the process of removing dead skin cells on the surface of the skin. So you're doing this because things are just sitting there and they're sluggish. They just sit. So you're doing this to get the cells to turn over faster, and they can unclog and get moving. So you can get, like, you want that turnover because that's how you're going to get like newer looking skin come up, and it's going to look like more vitalized. So you're going to have improved texture, a freshness to the skin, and also products can absorb better. And depending on the treatment, you're going to get some level of repair, especially with the deeper treatments, because you're actually causing damage. So the skin repairs, just like if you cut or burn yourself, it's like there's an emergency, go in and repair. So there's some level of repair going on with these. And then just to say, with the manual exfoliation, it's a really good thing to be using at home, ongoing, even with COMRA. So what's happening, you're getting the skin to go into healing or regenerating the tissue and repair. But I said in a sense, and this is kind of in a sense with these treatments a lot of the time, because it's going to repair, but how effective is that repair? Because if you still have sluggishness overall, if there's no repair going on and there's not really any energy being given to the skin to heal, you're going to get more of like the cells aren't going to repair in any improved way. They're just going to copy what they were doing before. Because for me, when I had treatments before, I had very deep peels sometimes, but the scarring never actually healed. I didn't understand that. I thought that that's what was supposed to happen, but it was just kept reproducing what was there. I mean, my skin looked really beautiful overall, but I needed some other level of repair there that wasn't going on. So it ends up being kind of a rinse and repeat in some cases. So, and then just to look at COMRA therapy now. So COMRA is supporting that shedding off of the old, and it's doing it in a very efficient way because of the coherency. So you're getting actually healing on a deeper level through that efficient action. So yeah, you're getting that turnover of cells, but COMRA is also achieving repair, and the repair doesn't require that you cause the damage first. So that's really nice. You don't need to have the damage. I mean, I'm not saying to not get those treatments done, but you don't need to go in there and do that deep damage. So the repair, one thing with COMRA2 is that the repair is being very directed, so that when the cells are turning over, they're in much better health and full of vitality already when they're turning over. So they're not just doing a basic repair and what's required. They're actually like full of life and like, wow, let's do this. So there's a lot more ability with COMRA for very good healing and repair. And then if you are going to get these treatments done, COMRA can definitely complement any of them. So you can use it right away afterwards. It's going to help with any inflammation. It's going to make the healing more efficient, faster, reduced or no scarring. Yeah, bring the redness down, just better overall healing. And now I'm going to look at some treatments here. So I'm going to be using our Beauty and Wellness User Guide to show you some treatments today. So again, you can find this online. And before any treatments on the face, it's recommended to wash the skin. You know, unless you do your treatment in the morning and you wash your skin the night before and you wake up with clean skin, then you can go ahead and do it then as well. But you mostly want to get the makeup off if you have makeup on your skin, or if you've been out all day and you know, feel just a bit like a bit of a layer there, some dirt, then just give it a wash. And when I do my treatments, I wash the skin and then I'll use a toner. And I'm going to talk about some stuff, but I'm going to talk about it later on. Like when I talk about a toner, I'll just maybe mention it and say a couple things, but I can talk about it more later. So I'll use a toner or hydrosol and spray it on my skin, because after I've cleansed, I just want to make it feel more balanced, and toning or hydrosol can help that, just so I'm not doing my treatment and having a really tight feeling skin, because personally I don't like that feeling. So I prefer to you know, have a nice feeling. And right now I'm in Bangkok, so I certainly like it's super humid here, so I don't need to put on moisturizer right away or at all, but I still do actually. But if I'm in a very dry climate like Edmonton, Canada or something in the winter time, then what I would do is I would spray and then also put oil or cream on and then wait a little bit for it to absorb, because yeah, I don't like that feeling of dry skin. I like to have something on my skin right away. So wait for it to absorb and then do the treatment. But otherwise you can wash, spray, or if you're somewhere humid, you don't need to, and then you can do your treatment. And then once you're done your treatment, then you can continue with your routine after that. If you do use creams or serums on your skin after your treatment, put that on then. And when you're doing your treatment, you just want to lay down, sit back. It's like giving yourself a facial. It's just a nice slow movement. I'm going to show you that in a minute, how I move the terminal around. So some of these treatments I'm showing you today are done with the aesthetic function terminal. So this is a specific program with this aesthetic. So there's a stronger ultrasound that's accelerating the process of the cell turnover. That's what the ultrasound is doing. It's accelerating that process of the turnover. So that's like the exfoliation. But this is a stronger in this terminal, in this function. And then the color therapy is also programmed to rejuvenation. So our medical terminal is programmed for regeneration. This one is rejuvenation. So when I'm looking myself to try to understand the difference between rejuvenation and regeneration, one thing that I found that helped me to see the difference, because sometimes it's hard to tell what's different about it. Sometimes it sounds like the same thing. But to me, rejuvenation is like you're giving those stagnant or sluggish cells a more youthful characteristic, a more youthful state. So giving the cells more vigor, more energy, more movement, more efficiency. Okay, so that's how I see rejuvenation. So that's what I see this function of the aesthetic doing. Whereas regeneration with the medical terminal, because you'd be using both terminals, because there's lots of support treatments for the skin. So regeneration, you're restoring function to a tissue or organ that's become dysfunctional due to acute damage or chronic disease or just degeneration over time. So it's the process of replacing or restoring damaged cells, tissues, to full function. So new cells are produced to replace the damaged ones. So if you don't have the aesthetic terminal, the chromoesthetic, then you can still benefit with the medical and the palm. It's better than not doing anything, that's for sure. Plus, a lot of the support treatments for the skin, you're going to be helping. So the palm, just to mention, the palm will be slower because it doesn't have the ultrasound, but the repair is still happening there. So this first treatment is focused on skin vitality and prevention and treatment of wrinkles and fine lines. This is the face and neck treatment. This is with the aesthetic terminal. So just to talk about wrinkles a little bit, so they're part of the aging process. The skin cells divide slower, and the inner layer of the skin begins to thin. So the elastin and collagen fibers that are underneath the surface, this is like the scaffolding of the skin. It supports the outer layer, and that starts to loosen and unravel and deteriorate. So this is why the wrinkles happen, because that structure that's holding everything up, making it nice and tight, making it plump. So that's deteriorating, breaking down underneath. And then especially when we have, when the sluggishness is on the surface of the skin and those cells aren't turning over, then that accentuates the look of those lines and wrinkles, because it's like pushing, there's nothing to hold it up anymore. So it goes in and pushes in. So, and also the skin, as it's aging, the oil secreting glands are less efficient, and it can make the skin look drier and more wrinkled. So also when the skin is dry and not nourished, it'll look crepey, and that will also accentuate the look of the lines and wrinkles. So the skin needs more nourishment as well. So with the aesthetic program terminal, you can use the 980 or the 905. If it's the 980, you can be doing this treatment every day if you like. 905, sure, you could still do it every day, but you can also do it less because it is stronger. And one can do this same protocol with the medical. You're still going to be, helping to target the damage of the cells and breakdown of the structure. So I'm just going to show you with the terminal now. So this is the aesthetic terminal. So it's a more flat, the ultrasound is right on the surface there. So when I'm doing my treatment, you could see on the diagram that it was a scanning motion going on. You saw different arrows going on. When you look in the book, you'll see that. So what I'm doing is I'm not pressing hard. There's no need to press hard, and you also don't want to drag. So as you're pulling it across, even gently across the surface, if you find it catching, then you just have to kind of lift it up a little bit. I mean, it's really usually nice and easy on the forehead. So you can go with the diagram in the book, you're going back and forth like this, and you're just going nice and slow, nice and slow. So again, don't let it drag, and don't be pulling on anything. Don't be pulling on the skin. So just nice and slow like this. So you just follow. And then what I'll do as well, I won't necessarily follow that diagram. If any of you know about lymphatic drainage, because lymphatic drainage is very important in the body. The lymph is helping to move toxins out of the body. So if you do skin brushing, for example, then you would know that lymphatic drainage goes in a certain direction when you're doing it on the body. So on the face as well, you're doing it in a certain direction. So what I'll end up doing, I'll take everything, start in the middle with everything, and I'll come out and down. So I'm going to go down my nose and down. And then, so each section I'm just following a downward motion. I'm not necessarily going down all the way with one movement, but I'm going out to a certain point and then stopping, out to a certain point and then stopping. And then when I get to this area, I'm bringing it over, bringing it over. And then when it comes to the eyes, you can get right into the eyes as well. So you can close your eyes and go right over them. And when you're up here, you can look down. It's nice and slow. So you can keep the eye closed for some of it and do some scans over the eye nice and slow. And I'll take the edge here and I'll open my eye and look up away. So it's going to be down on my skin. So the laser's not going to be pointing in my eyes. So it's fine to have that here. So I'll keep it I'll just put the edge right under my eye there, and I'll pull it across, just really nice and gentle with no pressure. And I'll just do some scans under there like that and go across. So that's that. And then if you have the medical, you could be doing the same. Again. Garrett, is it still in the right mode? Okay, thank you. Just had to check. And now this is one of the support treatments here. So with the other areas I go through with the skin, this is going to apply to all of those areas. So anything that's going on with the skin. So any and all skin treatments, any skin issues, as well as vitality, you're going to be doing this treatment at some point along with it to support. The support treatments are hugely important for the skin. When I started doing this treatment, I had been doing the aesthetic treatment. I was getting good results, but when I did this, there was just a boost that happened. I don't even know if I can explain it, but I saw a big difference with adding this in, this blood treatment. So the main support treatments, I'm going to go through a few here. The main support treatments are in the areas of the blood and the lymph, the liver, the gut, and also just overall well-being and stress treatments as the support treatments. So these areas have a large influence on what's happening with the skin because of toxins in the body recirculating, the body not processing things efficiently, and that includes things like food too, toxins, waste backed up. So this is all resulting in sluggishness everywhere, and this is definitely going to show up on the skin if that's where one of your issues is. So this one treatment you can do to support the skin and body vitality without the aesthetic. And actually all these they're all going to be supporting when you don't have the aesthetic terminal. So you can still do these support treatments when you don't have the aesthetic. And this is done with the medical terminal at 5 Hertz, with the 905, 980, or the Palm. And I'm not going to show all the treatments on myself. I wanted to just show you the skin one because I wanted to just show you the speed I'm going at and how it's done. These ones aren't scanning. So this is the Universal 3 blood treatment. And then there's a Universal 6 treatment. It's called Vitality. So this is a combination of Universal 4 and Universal 3. And you don't have to go to those separately. The Universal 6 treatment shows both of those together on those pages. So this is a combination. So this is for metabolic sluggishness and the body not regulating properly. So physical exhaustion, recuperation, general well-being, vitality, maintenance and support of the aging body. So things related with that are going to be causing sluggishness in the whole body. You can also do Universal 7 instead of this one because it has Universal 5 and Universal 3. I'm not going to show this one up on the screen, but you can do Universal 7 if you have more of a nervous system sluggishness or nervous system issue going on. A lot of high stress, adrenal things going on, not sleeping well, emotional exhaustion. So that would be the Uni 5 and the Uni 3. So if you're going to be doing these treatments, then you don't need to also do that Universal 3 separately. You're doing it as part of this treatment, as this part of this protocol. This is the liver cleanse protocol. So this is another support treatment. This is with the medical 905, 980, or Palm. So this is the liver has many functions in the body, and it's important with detoxing. Has a lot of stuff that circulates through, so you want to help the liver as much as possible with moving things out efficiently so that the body can actually detox and get rid of these things rather than it going and recirculating again. And then this is the colon cleanse treatment. So the gut, again, has a huge effect on everything with the body, if there's gut issues going on. So this is a colon cleanse. And again, another treatment that you can do without having the aesthetic, but by all means, the aesthetic has its special use with that, like vitalizing and making all the cells youthful. So it's definitely beneficial, especially directly on the skin. It makes a big difference. So again, this is supporting, the colon's trying to get rid of things as well. So it's supporting moving things out more efficiently, and also healing and balancing the gut. There's so many gut issues nowadays. It's, such a huge issue. So many people have gut issues. So it's very important to work with the gut, with anything with the skin. And there's also a treatment called Universal 8, and that's more of a complete cleanse. So with that one, it includes the liver and the colon and other organs of detox. So if you wanted to be doing both of these areas, the liver and the colon, then you could look at Universal 8 instead and just do a more full cleansing support. And I just want to look at some complementary things that can be done for the fine lines and wrinkles and skin vitality and prevention. So, and I'm going to be talking about skincare more in general closer to the end after I talk about a couple other treatments. But I just wanted to go over a couple things in this section with this particular concern. So nourishing, moisturizing, protective products, also gentle. We certainly don't need to use anything harsh on the skin. Exfoliation is very beneficial. There's something called hyaluronic acid. This is something that's in the body. It's in the skin already, but it starts to break down over time. We don't have as much, so it's in our joints too. So hyaluronic acid could be used on the skin, and it can also be taken internally. So it binds water. So again, as the skin's aging, things are breaking down, and the oil glands as well aren't working. So it's important to keep it hydrated. And just in general, just potent, effective ingredients. And this is for any skincare, no matter what's going on. We want to know what's in there and how's it helping. So something like hyaluronic acid, or I have antioxidants listed there too. So you want it to be something that actually has some action, because there's a lot of skincare out there. It's a ginormous industry. It's everywhere. And there's a lot of things that don't have anything. They're not actually doing anything. It's kind of like food as well. There's so much food out there that's not even actually food. It's just something we consume, but when you look at the ingredients, it's like, what is that? It's not even actual food. It's just something made from chemicals or put together somehow. So potent, effective ingredients, antioxidants in the skincare, vitamin C, vitamin A are examples in serums and oils. And there's lots of other really nutritive oils from plants to protect and nourish the skin. Things like rosehip is a really good oil. It's high in vitamin C, and it's also it's a plant oil, because I have essential oils there as well. Essential oils are very repairing and protective. Things like frankincense, carrot seed, helichrysum, or immortelle it's also called, and rose. So those are, and this is definitely by no means a comprehensive list. There's lots of essential oils out there that can benefit. These are just some that I like and I've used. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about skincare after. And things that we can take internally to support antioxidant formulas, especially something like vitamin C. And vitamin C, especially, say you're going to get some sort of a treatment or surgery done, vitamin C is hugely beneficial to help the tissue repair and regeneration after a treatment or something. It plays a big role in collagen formation. And also, as far as all the cleansing treatments that I showed you, you could also be taking some cleansing herbal support, for example, for liver, blood, lymphatic herbs. So lots of bitter herbs, things like Swedish bitters or cleavers, burdock. So again, not a comprehensive list. I'm not a herbalist. I just have personal experience of using herbs and working with herbalists. So I hear stuff, used it. So there's lots of options out there. And then also things to support gut health. So the chromotherapy can definitely help with the repair. But yeah, we have to look at lots of, depending on what's going on with the gut, it could use a lot of support. So might need probiotics or some antifungal or something. It just depends on what's going on for each individual. So now we'll look at acne, breakouts, infection. So acne is infection. So it's a buildup of bacteria. There's excess oil there, dead skin cells sitting there, and the pores get clogged. So it's inflammation and infection. So there's sluggishness happening, things aren't moving, and the skin is out of balance. So there's like no healing going on in that particular case. And in many cases, especially with all the skin products out there, they're just depleting, often drying it out, over treating the skin, too many products. And also I have the stars next to picking and touching. So this is like one of the worst parts of acne. So it's like really hard not to touch it and pick at it. You can feel things under the skin. You want to squeeze it. You want to try to get it out, try to fix it somehow. And this is definitely something that I've done over the years, and I still have to like stop myself from picking. Even now, if I get something that's there and bugging me for a little bit. So doesn't happen very often. That's good, because then I don't end up touching my skin. That if I feel something and I start touching, then I just create more of a mess, actually. So I'll actually prevent the healing. Even if I'm using my Comra, it prolongs the healing of it. So it's not good to touch. If somebody is going to squeeze some sort of a pustule, then yeah, clean hands. You want to use tissue around the area so that it doesn't just spread and sit on the skin, because again, it's infection, so it can just make things spread. So you want to use like tissue in the area and squeeze it out, and just try to make sure that that doesn't touch the rest of the area, and then clean it right afterwards. Yeah, get some sort of a treatment on there just to help prevent any infection from spreading. So it's a big one not to do. But with acne, it's something that can be healed very well, and start seeing no breakouts over time. So, but there can also be a lot to it. So you might have to be, again, I'm going to go through some of the other I'm going to also mention, I'm not going through the support treatments like before, but I'm just going to show you that all these treatments are very beneficial and needed in many cases. So this treatment is for particular areas of acne on the skin. This is done with the medical terminal. So the medical terminal 905, 980 or palm. But again, with the palm, you don't have the ultrasound, so you're not going to get that turnover as quickly. So it'd be really, really beneficial to at least have the ultrasound with the medical terminals, or of course the aesthetic. So this particular treatment shows, it's dermatology 4. It's showing one area of the skin. So if you just have the breakout on one area, then this is where you do the treatment. You can just do it there. But of course, if the acne is all over the skin, then you're going to do it all over the skin. And it's really important here, if there's an active breakout or infection, that you're going just above that. You're not rubbing it along, you're not pulling it along, or even touching it. You want to just scan right above the area, or just, if you have it in one spot, then you're just going to hold the terminal there in that one spot for a couple minutes, and then you can move it to another spot depending on how big the area is. And if it is all over, then you can definitely scan, like I was showing you earlier with the face and neck treatment. You can definitely do the scanning. You're just going to do it slowly and hold it right above. And then this is the face and neck treatment that I showed you earlier for the lines and wrinkles and overall vitality. So again, you can also be doing this for the acne, because it's requiring support and efficient movement and repair. So this one is the aesthetic terminal. And again, with the active infection, you're not putting it directly on and dragging over the infected area. So the ultrasound and the rejuvenation program with the aesthetic make a really big difference. Because just, even though my skin cleared up over the years when I have had breakouts, I've ended up using the medical and the aesthetic, and there's definitely a boost, a different type of healing with the aesthetic, as far as especially that redness and the kind of helping it to heal up. You know, I can feel the medical helping with the infection, but yeah, the aesthetic really comes in and shines with that leftover stuff and helping that move that, like the full healing forward. Anything that's discolored there still. So it does a really great job with that. And just to mention the treatments here, so the Universal 3, again, that blood treatment, hugely important. Universal 5, this is the emotional exhaustion, stress, insomnia, and balancing overall treatment. So this one, you know, would be especially good for if there is teenagers, and acne is not just a teenage issue, just happens to happen to many teenagers, or mostly with teenagers, but it can happen all through our lives. I mean, I still have breakouts once in a while, so, and I'm late 40s, so it's not like it's not supposed to happen. There's hormonal acne, so but yeah, Universal 5 for teenagers, if they're stressed or not getting very good sleep, not eating well, yeah, so it's good for them. So the liver cleanse and the colon cleanse, once again, come in here, overall support. And you could also do that Universal 8, that complete cleanse instead, where you're getting the liver and the colon and other organs of detox, just to help the body overall sluggishness. And then complementary things to do with acne, breakouts, and infection. Clays and charcoal masks are really excellent things to be done. This can be done at home a couple times a week. And I'll talk about each one as I go through the points. So clays and charcoal masks are helping to draw things out of the skin. They can also be used, some of them are a little bit rough, so they can be used as an exfoliation as well. But you put it on, it sits on the skin, and it's helping to draw oils out, draw toxins out. So they're really beneficial, help to heal things up faster, draw out the infection. And then exfoliation, I mentioned before, if there's an active breakout, then you want to use more of a chemical or enzymatic exfoliation versus a scrub. So you don't want to be scrubbing over the pustules. Gentle cleansing is important. You don't want to be drying, nothing drying. And antibacterial is good, but definitely from something like essential oils, something more natural to be helping with the bacteria on the skin. And I have oil cleansing here. So oil cleansing is a certain method of, you're actually cleansing the skin with oil. You're rubbing the oil all over the skin, letting it sit there for a bit, and then putting a hot cloth on the skin, letting it sit, and then wiping off the dirt. If somebody's wearing makeup, then it takes off the makeup as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about oils and moisturizers in a second here. Hydrosols, I'm going to talk more about hydrosols when I talk about the skincare, but hydrosols and toners are things that are helping to balance the skin. And I mentioned that earlier when I talked about what I do before treatment. Because after cleansing, the skin can be out of balance, the pH can be out of balance. So that helps to bring that balance back. And then different essential oil formulas. And I put in nutritive oil. You always want to put essential oils into some sort of carrier oil. You don't want to put the essential oils right on the skin. I mean, you could do it maybe a couple times, but then they're too strong. They're too potent to be keep putting on the skin. So, and then light moisturizer. So oil and moisturizer, often people with acne don't want to use oils. They don't want to use moisturizer. They're afraid. They think it's going to make things worse. But acne is not necessarily about oil. There can definitely be excess oil in the skin, but sometimes that excess oil is actually coming from the skin being so depleted and so dry that it starts producing more oil, like pooling oil, because it's just so depleted. So when it's like, people have actually tried this, they've used this for, like, many people have tried this. So oil cleansing, putting moisturizer on. Even myself, I used to have way oilier skin. It wasn't necessarily causing my breakouts, but when I started using oil, my skin balanced out, and I don't get oiliness anymore. So makes a big difference, because you don't want that skin being depleted. It's not going to help at all. it just makes it more irritated and more out of balance. And the out of balance is, yeah, it's not going to help. So just to mention a couple essential oils that can be used. Helichrysum is an oil that I mentioned with the anti-aging, but that's also can be used for the acne because it's very repairing. Same with frankincense. Things like tea tree for antibacterial, thyme, lavender, it's very calming, and blue tansy, Roman chamomile. So these are all very soothing, calming, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. So there's lots of support that we can give the skin. And as far as complementary to take internally, so again, to boost that cleansing support with Comra, we can add in liver support, blood, lymphatic herbs. So again, all those like lots of bitter herbs that are helping move things out, helping the detox going on, helping move that sluggishness out of the liver. And again, balancing the gut, helping it to heal whatever's going on. So many different things with the gut. You'd need to be probably working with a nutritionist or naturopath, some natural practitioner, just to find out what's happening with the gut, if there's lots of health issues going on. Vitamin C, again, can be used for acne because of its repairing qualities. And zinc is also a big one used for acne, actually. So it's anti-inflammatory, can help decrease breakouts and help with the wound healing. So a lot of people have used zinc and find that that helps. And then we're just going to look at a couple more treatments here. So psoriasis, eczema, dermatitis. So there's a treatment called Dermatology 1. And you're going to be doing this treatment with the medical terminal. So there's different support points with this treatment. And then you're going to go over the area where the issue is. And then you're going to want to do Universal 7 is a really good support one for this. Again, you're doing the blood. And then also stress for Universal 5. So Uni 7 is a combination of 3 and 5. So you're touching on some of the cleansing points on this treatment for the liver and the kidney, but not the gut and not much liver. So you can definitely add in the liver and the colon cleanse treatments, protocols for this. And then inflammatory, sensitive skin, rosacea. So if there's flushing, persistent redness, visible blood vessels, this particular treatment, again, is the face and neck treatment that I've shown you with the aesthetic terminal at 1,000 hertz. But you can also use the medical terminal or even add the medical terminal in or the palm, and you're scanning in the areas where the flare-ups are or all over. And again, Universal 3, Universal 5, those treatments are both big support for this one, for anything with rosacea, sensitive inflammation, and then the colon and the liver, of course. So to talk about skincare overall as a complementary aspect with Comra therapy. So together, like Comra together with high quality skincare. So there's definitely more low quality skincare out there than clean, good quality and effective. So, and of course, harmful chemicals are not going to help your skin. They're not going to help the body. They're just going to bombard it more and create more sluggishness. So it's like that working with or against ourselves with everything that we're doing as much as possible, you know. Sometimes we're going to do a lot, we're going to do it all. Sometimes we're just going to do like the basics, what's needed, and then we're going to get back up and dust ourselves off and just do as much as we can with whatever's happening in our lives. So so there's many good options out there for skincare. I'm not going to be talking about specific skincare lines or anything. It really depends on where you are in the world. There's so much out there. You know, you need to kind of investigate things a little bit to find things that are effective. You can definitely make some of your own recipes at home. You can make your own serums and oils. There's lots of recipes online that show different oils, and then you can learn about amounts and then, yeah, play around. It can be a lot of fun, actually. And then you know exactly what's going in there. You don't have to question like, what is this or what is that? But there are a lot of really good apps out there or just full websites that you can look products up. see what ingredients are. There's apps that you have on your phone, and you can actually scan a barcode or look at it when you're out, and you can actually see what's in there. It'll show you if something's, what all the ingredients are, how harmful they are, like what their rating is as far as, and then you can also see what they're doing. So they can be really very helpful when you're out looking around. And that's really what you want to do, is look at the ingredient list, because that's what's going to be telling you what's in there. Just like with our food, you can't just look at what it says on there and that it's say natural or something and say, oh yeah, this is okay, because that's not necessarily the case. So, and then hydrosols and rose water are good options for toning and balancing. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a couple of minutes here just to talk more about the skincare. So you don't want to be creating more harm and buildup with what we're using. But again, even clean products, like, they're not necessarily effective, but at least they're not causing harm. So that's good. Of course, that's a bonus when you're not creating more harm on the skin. But it's such a huge industry now that everybody's in on it. So everybody's creating different products, and it's like, well, okay, this has nothing, no bad chemicals in it, but what is it actually doing? Is there anything active? What's this doing on my skin? So there's a lot of investigating and learning to do when it comes to skincare. So, and I mentioned something about the natural before. So natural and organic, you still have to kind of wonder if it's effective. Such a huge industry. And when it comes to natural, it can mean like literally nothing. So it might have one or two things in there that's a plant or something, or there's a lot of things that say, oh, plant ingredients. But then you look at the ingredients and yeah, there's like maybe one thing in there, two things, and then the rest of it is not good for you. So it's just going to be more that's bombarding the body. So essential oils are some of the most potent ingredients that we can use on our skin. They're healing, they're repairing, they're protective. And you always want to put those into a carrier oil. There's lots of different plant oils out there. I should have made a list. I mentioned rosehip earlier. That's a really good one. Sea buckthorn, jojoba oil. Yeah, there's lots and lots of really good ones. So you want to, if you're going to make your own recipes, then you're going to put the essential oils into these carrier oils. But the carrier oils themselves are also very nourishing for the skin. And again, then you know exactly what's going on there, what you're putting on. Hydrosols I've mentioned a couple times. So hydrosols they're a byproduct of making essential oils. So they also have the like the healing qualities of the plant. So the qualities of the plant are in there, they're just in a more diluted form. So I'll often use the hydrosols as a toner, and again, that's to balance my skin. Or sometimes I'll use a rose water as well. And rose water is similar to hydrosol. You just have to make sure there's lots of products out there that say this water or this water, but you have to see that it says hydrosol. Or if you see a rose water, then you want to actually look at the ingredients and you want it to say that it's 100% rose water. You don't want it to be water with rose fragrance or rose something else put in there, or lavender scent or something put in. So that's not what these things are, because those don't have the same qualities. They're not having the same healing qualities on the skin. And with the skincare overall, for myself personally, like when I'm putting my skincare oil on, I'm just like, it's such a luxurious feeling for me. I mean, it's something I've enjoyed even when I was trying to fix my skin as a teenager, but it's just something I always enjoyed. And even now, like when I put my oil on, because I'll make my own oil, I'll buy a carrier oil, and then I'm traveling with my essential oils, so I'll add them in there. I've got my blue tansy and my helichrysum. I've got lavender. I've got frankincense. Once in a while, I'll put rose in, but rose is pretty pricey essential oil, so it's kind of a treat to have something like that in there sometimes. But yeah, I enjoy like putting it all together. And then when I'm putting it on my skin, I'm smelling the scents, because personally I like the scents, and they're not chemicals. These are like all from plants, and even if they have kind of a strong medicinal smell, I'm still enjoying that because I know that they're like imparting this healing on my skin and they're really good for my body. And yeah, so it's all just a very enjoyable process that I like. So yeah, I'm just going to go back to sharing here for the last couple slides. And then just a quick, kind of a quick mention, I guess, on diet and lifestyle overall. I'm not going to go into much detail. I mean, you could do a whole other webinar on clean, healthy diet for skin and just for the body overall, because of course it's going to be supporting the body and the skin at the same time. You can't do like one without the other. So, but of course, just fresh, clean fruits and vegetables, just high quality, and knowing what it is, you know, packaged foods and everything. I mean, you got to look at the ingredients, but the best thing is to just use as many foods as possible that don't even have an ingredient list. This just is what it is. So I'm going to eat it. It doesn't, you know, a cucumber doesn't need to have an ingredient list because it's a cucumber. So this is what we want to eat as much as possible. And then the other stuff adding in smaller amounts. So of course it's going to affect our skin what we eat and drink. So it can have a huge, you know, it can create a lot of reaction and inflammation and be a major cause of what's happening on the skin. So it's definitely important. And also, of course, drinking water, high quality drinking water, drinking lots of water. And we've got our Comra Wave that actually energizes the water. So that makes the water even like it actually creates vitality. So we're drinking vitalized water. So it's all full of that activity and action when we're drinking it. So of course that's going to benefit us. And then movement and exercise, fresh air, sunshine are all super important just for lifestyle, getting out, moving, relaxing, getting some sunshine. You know, when you're looking at how to have healthy skin online, there's lots of stuff that brings up, you know, sun protection and stay out of the sun. And it almost creates a fear for people sometimes because of the aging and the skin cancer and stuff. And they talk about SPF, but then not really talking about quality most of the time, or not that I've seen, are they mentioning the quality of the SPF? And there's lots of chemicals in a lot of the SPF products. A lot of them are chemical blockers for the sun versus a physical blocker like zinc. So yeah, so it's important the quality as well. But we also need some sun. We get vitamin D from it. It's like the best way to get vitamin D, which is hugely important for our bodies, for our immune systems, and of course our moods, overall emotional state. So just need to get out and enjoy ourselves as well. And then just to share one last slide. So no human face is exactly the same in its lines on each side, no leaf perfect in its lobes, no branch in its symmetry. All admit irregularity as they imply change. And to banish imperfection is to destroy expression, to check exertion, to paralyze vitality. All things are literally better, lovelier, and more beloved for the imperfections which have been divinely appointed. So thank you, everybody, for your attention. And we can put up the chat now, and maybe Maxim or somebody else can keep track if there are questions. So if anybody has any questions, it's open. If you want to ask it in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and talk and ask something, then you can go ahead and do that.
I just want to say well done, Avril. Thank you very much for the webinar.
Thanks, Garrett.
I had a question with the vitamin C.
Okay.
With the antioxidant or just the addition of vitamin C, you said you mentioned in relation to, let's say, peels and these kind of things. So do people, I wasn't clear, do they take it internally or put it on topically or both?
Well, you can do,
usually do that.
You could do both. I mean, right after a deep peel or something, you probably wouldn't want to use vitamin C right away, depending on how, like, yeah, how sore the skin was or the quality of the product. But yeah, Because of course you do want to, I mean, some people are told to stay out of the sun, depending on the peel. They have to just stay out of it because it's more prone to damage when it's been peeled and in a revealed state. And then the vitamin C internally is really helping with the repair. So repair of anything going on. That's.
Thank you.
I have a question on hair protocols. Wondering
Okay.
whether you can share any information, because there used to be the Meridian device, except I understand that is no longer available. So what are the protocols available for hair growth and, you know, and scalp, you know, health?
Okay. I would definitely, I mean, we don't have the Meridian terminal, you're correct. I would not hesitate to use the medical terminal though. And you could also try if you have the aesthetic, I would also do that. And you would do the same, what the treatment was with the Meridian, because I don't even think we have that in the book anymore, but it was a scanning, it's a hairbrush. So you're actually scanning the scalp in different directions. Again, it's that slow movement you're scanning. So you could do that similar with the medical and aesthetic. If there's a certain area, I mean, you can definitely pull apart the hair a little bit because you want to, you know, the Meridian terminal had the little spokes that got down right and you were actually brushing your hair right on the scalp. The medical and aesthetic, you could kind of pull the hair apart a little bit to get at the skin a little bit better. But you can just, I would definitely say to try that out. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't support. And then also depending on, I mean, sometimes the hair loss is from the stress. So of course the Uni 5 and then the Uni blood, because that's feeding everything, the blood. So you want to get that in a better state as well. So it would be super important support treatment.
Thank you.
So yes, yeah. So yes, go for it for sure.
Thank you.
We have some questions in the chat. If I can.
I can see them actually,
Ask.
the working on the closed eyes. Yeah, they're all okay when the eyes are closed. So you don't need to do anything different except closing your eyes. And again, when I showed earlier, like you can have the eye open and looking up because you're having the terminal like right underneath and it's facing down. Then you're hitting a certain point of the eye area down there. And glutathione, either topically or internally. Yeah, glutathione's a good antioxidant for sure. So it's always going to be good for skin and whole body. I don't know. I'm not really aware of glutathione for both topically. I haven't heard about it for topical. Maybe that's something that's out now, but I didn't ever see that in the past. So, I mean, if there is a topical version, sure, why not? But otherwise, it's something that you're going to take internal.
I have another question.
Okay, sure.
Regarding the protocols for cellulite, I'm wondering if you are able to share with us a complementary, you know, things to do to help with cellulite.
Okay, sure. So we do have the cellulite treatment. I don't know if you've seen it, but we do have it. And that's the scanning with the aesthetic terminal. I would also add in with something like cellulite, it's a toxin issue generally, and it's toxins being stuck in the tissue because it's not necessarily from fat, or I mean, it's stuck in the fat, but it's not there's lots of skinny people with cellulite as well. So people have thought that cellulite is an issue for obesity or something, but it's not. So it's more of a toxin issue. So you're wanting the Universal 8 is going to be the most, what's the word? Anyway, it's got the most support for detoxing for all the organs. So I would use that alongside. And I can't remember if the Universal 8 has the blood treatment, but again, the Universal 3 blood as well. And then anything that you can do dietary, and also the like skin brushing is really good as a support, complementary support for the cellulite. Also scrubs, like rougher scrubs that, you know, you don't want to use anything too rough on the skin, but you can be a bit rougher with the body. But if you're doing the skin brushing, then that's going to be enough. You don't need to have a scrub as well.
Thank you.
Okay, well, maybe that's it then for today. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I hope that you learned something, got something out of the webinar today. And yeah, we'll be in touch with our next steps, whatever we're doing next with our interactions with you. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you,
everybody.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.